if you were college football commissioner tomorrow, what are the top 5 issues you would fix? I'm short on many things, but ideas for how to fix the sport, not among them. First thing, the way we release schedules in this sport, I want to totally overhaul. I have long since been of the opinion it is foolish for me to know who Wisconsin's going to play in 2030. We're done with all that. You don't need to know a schedule that far in advance. The NFL gets this right. I'm not ever one of those guys who says because the pro model does it, the college model needs to do it. But in this particular case, the NFL folks have it right. Here's what I would do. Before spring practices, and I would do it conference by conference, before their spring practices start, I would have schedule release parties, essentially. They would be specials on TV, and you would find out. If you're Wake Forest, if you're Auburn, you find out who you're going to play and the order in which you're going to play those teams this year. Maybe you already know some of the conference games you're going to play, but you would not know the order until right before you start spring ball. That's the first thing I would do. I would create a scheduling event in the spring. The second thing is I would allow real spring games. I wouldn't force you to do it, but I would give incentive, and I would work with our TV partners, whether it's CBS or ESPN or Fox, and I would say, I want to subsidize anybody out there. If Oklahoma State wants to go get the Citadel to play in their spring game, we're going to allocate funding for it. We're going to pay the Citadel that big paycheck they would normally get in the fall, the Dial a W model. We'll pay them that huge amount of money in the spring because you're going to give us a TV product in return. We will give you TV time, so you'll get the exposure, so it's a win-win for everyone. The fans get an actual event to go to. If you want to bet on it, I don't think we ever thought we would see spring college football gambling, but we get a bunch of benefits from that. And anyone who pushes back on it, I'm not going to listen to it for more than 2 seconds because I just told you, you don't have to do it. You don't have to participate. But if you do, we're going to give you a lot of incentive to do it. The third thing, this transfer portal's got to have some control on it. So we're going to have windows. And I think this is actually coming whether I say it or not. You're going to have a window after spring practice to transfer, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And you're going to have a window after the regular season concludes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And that's going to be it. And the rest of the year will be spent whispering about who may or may not go into the portal, but we're not going to have players leaving teams during the season. We're not going to have players leaving teams in August. It's ridiculous. I don't care how much money you're paid as a head coach. At a certain point, it is so dumb to look at a staff and say, well, you guys make a lot of money, deal with it. It doesn't matter how much money they make. That is not tied to common sense practices. You don't get to insert ludicrous practices, but then say, oh, but don't worry, they get paid a lot of money, so it's fine. No, it's not fine. So we would have windows for the transfer portal. I would put a stop immediately to these needless neutral site games. If you are Oklahoma and Texas, yes, I want you to stay at the Cotton Bowl. If you're Georgia and Florida, yes, I want you to stay in Jacksonville, although I know I get some pushback on that game. But if you are Georgia and Oregon, if it's not happening in Autzen Stadium or Sanford Stadium, I'm not for it. If you are playing at a neutral site game where you otherwise would be better served to be playing in your home venue, then I'm coming down with the full weight and force of the commissioner's office. I have no interest in watching Texas A&M and Arkansas play in Arlington. I want to see them in Fayetteville and College Station. I have no interest in watching Alabama and Miami play in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I want to see Miami go into Bryant-Denny. I want to see Bama go down into Hard Rock Stadium. That's what I want to see. So we would do that with neutral site games. And on the NIL front, I would get smart and I would get tactical with an NIL approach. I would work with conferences. I would also get some of the best strategic minds in my office so that I constantly wasn't on the defensive, that we actually took a little proactive approach in this kind of thing, and we had some forward-thinking minds in the room to where we're not always reeling from this court decision or that court decision. But also I would make it a point to emphasize, the NCAA is not your savior. They're not going to help you out here. If you want help, if you're Greg Sankey, if you're Jim Phillips, if you're Kevin Warren, if you guys want help, you're going to have to do it at the conference level. That means you need to have Well, the commissioner of your conference on board. I'm the commissioner of college football. I'll be there to help you out, but I'm just kind of here to set guidelines. You have to take the initiative and the action. You need your university presidents on board first and foremost. And that's really one of the most overlooked aspects of this whole thing. University presidents have to do a really good job here. And then I would loop our television partners in on the back end because they play a large role in that too. So schedule releases, we're doing them in the spring. I would allow real spring games. The transfer portal windows, we would have 2 of them and 2 of them only per year. I am doing away with pointless neutral site games, and we are going to get NIL under control at the conference level. Kids can make as much money as they want, but we are not going to have it erode the overall integrity of the sport in the process. Those are hard and fast rules. We're not bending on those. I am open to further suggestion. I was only asked for 5. That's why I only gave 5. I could give you like 20. We could just do a weekly college football commissioner platform podcast in lieu of this one, really, if you wanted to.